Happy New Year's, everybody. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year. What? Yup. Happy New Year's 2025. Yeah. I have to be honest with you. Past X amount of years, I have not really been excited for the new year at all. This is the first time I've been excited about it in a long time. Um, so much crap. And it just gets to the point where it just doesn't, it's just not a good thing anymore. Like, I don't know. It was just a dead end situation. And then you get to the point where you're just up to your eyeballs with it. And it just seemed like every year there was more. And finally, I feel like I could breathe. Okay. Anyway, so let's do part 2 or episode 2 of my relationship series. Okay. So, if you find out that you're qualified to be in a relationship, you have to be qualified, right? You have to be mentally sound. You have to have the ability to open your heart, and care about someone else and to be responsible for them. Okay? There's more to relationships than I love you. There's a whole lot more to that. So, you have to be qualified. If you're qualified, if you're capable of loving somebody else, if you're capable of having their back through thick and thin, okay, and you're emotionally open, your heart is open, your life is open to accommodate someone else, then you might be qualified. If you're non-toxic, you might be qualified. If you're qualified, this episode is for you. If you're not qualified, I suggest you get in therapy. Because whatever is in here that's unresolved is going to poison your relationships. And you're not going to have a happy relationship. You will have a series of failed relationships, but you won't have a successful one. So, one of the biggest things that people may lack in their relationship or their marriage or relationship that could go into marriage and even in marriage is communication. A lack of communication. Okay. No one can read your mind. You can't assume that someone knows what you're thinking, even though you never told them. People can't read your mind. So you need to communicate with them in a way that is not attacking. Okay. And one of the things, and therapists will talk, I'm not a therapist, but therapists will talk to you about this, and they will say, one of the things you should not say when you're communicating with someone is you always and you never. That instantly makes people get defensive, and chances are it's not true anyway. All right. Say you're picking on your husband because he said he was going to cut the grass on Friday. Here it is Sunday night. He still ain't cut the grass. He ain't going to cut it now because it's nighttime. You know, you've asked him a couple times, he didn't listen, or whatever the case may be, he forgot, or whatever the case may be. Now it's at the point where you feel like you want to attack. I always ask you to do something and you never listen, and you never cut the grass, which is not true. If the person never cut the grass, the husband never cut the grass would be up to the top of your head. Okay, so obviously they cut the grass at some point, right? Almost all situations are not a all or never. Almost all situations are not you always or you never, okay? You never listen to me. That is not true either. However, communication and listening goes together, all right? Just because you're used to being with somebody, we're going to go there. Just because you're used to being with somebody, you've been with them for years, You dated for years, you're married for years, and instead of listening to that person and caring about what they say, some people fall into the page of, the person's trying to communicate with you, and it doesn't matter, man or woman, it don't matter. Trying to communicate, and your response is, what now? What? Do you have an attitude? No, I don't have an attitude. What? That's not good communication. That's not good. You're kind of acting like, I don't even like you. You're kind of treating that person like, I don't even like you. Why are you talking to me? When you do that, whether you've done it one time or you've done it 100 times, that builds resentment in your partner, anger and resentment. And once you get to a certain point of anger and resentment, which builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, there is no way to fix it unless you agree to go to therapy. And even then, the anger and resentment may run so deeply and there's so much water under the bridge, and there's been so many years that even in therapy, the person's like with an attitude because they don't really want to be there. And they feel like every time they tried to fix the things that were wrong in the relationship, and the other person went, what now? I work every day, I work all day, and I got to come home and listen to this? No, you don't, actually. You can just go ahead and we can just be done. If I destroy your life that much, well, let me go ahead and do my life and let you do yours. I don't want to ruin your life by being in it. Okay? That's another reason why you have to really, really, truly consider if you want to marry this person. They're going to be this is supposed to be a forever thing. This is supposed to be, we grow old together. This is supposed to be, we are partners. We're on the same team for literally the rest of our lives. Do people take it that serious? No, because when somebody else comes along, they'd rather be with them. Besides the point, we're in a throwaway society, which is really, really awful and non-productive. And there are people who have thrown away their relationship or thrown away their marriage, and they wish they didn't, but the damage is done, and I'm sorry, doesn't fix it. Okay? So communication is the key. Not being angry, not being, I am sick and damn tired of telling you, asking you, or whatever. One thing that I love, and I always talk about them because they're the epitome of what love is supposed to be, and that's the Apples. Jenny and Kyle were married. She passed away from cancer. They have 2 kids, Winnie and Ellis. Okay, little youngsters. Winnie and Ellis are their son and daughter, and I watched them very, very closely on camera. Watched them like a hawk. And one thing that I noticed is when she would talk, he would listen. There was no eye rolling. There was no, what? Even if you don't get dramatic about it and you go, yeah, what? That's not warm. That's not loving. That's basically treating the person like, you're a big mosquito in my life. What do you want? You don't say those words, but your attitude says it crystal clear, right? So anyway, in their relationship, he talked, she listened, and vice versa. And they listened closely, and they looked at their partner. They had eye contact with their partner, and they valued how they felt, each other felt. Their relationship was strong. It wasn't based on hormones. It was based on true love that was solid, honey. You know the song, Ashford and Simpson, Solid as a Rock. That's what our love is. Exactly. Solid foundation. Solid foundation is the way you look at each other, the way you talk to each other, the way you relate to each other, your body language, your eye contact or lack thereof, all of the micro expressions, body language, all of these things communicate to your partner how you truly feel. So you can say, I love you, but your body says, what, what now? You're turned away from them. You're like this. When they're on this side, you're like this. These are shutting your partner out. That's not warm. You got your legs crossed away from them. You got your hand like this. You're not looking at them. You got your face in your phone. All of these things can make a person feel unwanted and unloved and unheard. And all of these things are nails in the casket, nails in the coffin, okay? And then you'll eventually have a death of your relationship. So if you snap on your partner and it was accidental, you need to apologize. Babe, I'm sorry. I know I snapped on you, but my head is boggled with all this crap at work, and we have inspections, and the big boss is coming down, and this is happening, and that is happening, and this and that, and on and on and on. And I didn't mean to snap on you, and I'm sorry. You know, I didn't want you to feel unheard. I'm sorry. I'm just going through a lot right now. I need a vacation. My brain needs a vacation. You know what I mean? Don't use it as an excuse all the time. But if you realize that you've done something wrong, you need to take ownership of that. How many times does a person communicate something to you and, it hurt my feelings when you said or did this, and the person instantly gets defensive? Well, don't act like you haven't done nothing wrong ever, because you have. That's not hearing, that's hearing the person but not listening. And when you're defensive, you're not listening, because mentally you're doing this. Like, oh, yeah. Come on, let's go. Bring it. Yeah. And you're bah, 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 that's not good. And over time, like I said, the anger and the resentment stacks on top of each other and builds, and it's irreparable now, unless you're both willing to go to counseling and work it out. I did talk to a couple in the summer, this past summer, and I said, I love how you guys communicate. They look at each other, they laugh, they joke. You would think they're just dating. They just started dating. They've been married for years. But I said, I love how you communicate. I love how you relate to each other. That's just awesome. And they said, oh, we've had issues. We've had issues, and we had to go to counseling, and thankfully we rectified it in counseling. Just because people go to counseling, that doesn't mean they're going to be able to save their relationship. You both have to be vulnerable, willing, and open to the therapy and concerted effort to make the changes. If one person's resistant or not all in, 100% all in, it may not work. Okay. So, episode 2, communication. All right. You have to be qualified to be in a relationship, and you have to have communication. If you ever want to see how Kyle and Jenny related to each other, her channel was Jenny Apple. And then after she passed, the channel became the Appleton, or the Apples, because their name is Appleton. The Apples, and it's all about him being a single dad and raising his 2 children. But when Jenny was still with us, so I do suggest you look at her channel, before she died, Jenny Apple. Their love story is so powerful and so refreshing and so amazing. You could have a whole bunch of married people and you can only have maybe one or two couples that are actually happy. That's not good. That's not good. That's not good at all. It shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way. You know, it's like a sports team. You rely on each other to try to win the game. You all rely on each other and you have a strategy and you work together. You don't go to practice and when you discuss your strategy, your teammates are discussing the strategy, the strategy, you're like, what? Imagine your teammates would all look at you like, what is wrong with you? Why are you tripping? It doesn't work like that. You have to all work as a team. Well, a relationship and a marriage is no different. You have to be a team. You have to work as a team. You have to have each other's back through thick and thin. And you cannot throw in the towel just because, you're, I don't know, you just tired of looking at the person. Again, if you're not qualified, don't do it. Because when you sign on the dotted line and you agree to be with this person forever, that's a long time. If you can't do it, don't do it. And during the relationship, into the marriage, if you're going to go for marriage, communication is everything. And not just communication, but the proper communication. You always and you never is not going to work. Or I am sick and tired of telling you. And sometimes you're going to be that angry. And, I'm going to tell you, sometimes you have to put yourself in timeout until you calm yourself down. I've had to do it a lot of times in my life. I remember babysitting. One of the kids was 5 or 6 or 5, 4, 3. I don't know. She's little. Yeah. And her sister was a preteen and she was a handful. Okay. She would make me so mad. Just defiant, hormonal, argumentative, for no reason. Probably hormonal. And I would have to put myself in timeout. I'd go in the bathroom and shut the door. I'd tell them, do not come in there unless the house is on fire. Don't knock on the door. Don't talk to me. Don't. And I would go in there and tell myself, let me breathe and pull it together. Okay. She would be defiant right in front of my face. Like, she didn't say I'm not doing it, but her body language made it crystal clear that she wasn't doing it. I would just get so mad. And I'm just like, I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to put myself in timeout. And you may have to do that so that you don't say or do something that's going to be a permanent destruction to a person's soul. Milo and I have been through hell wherein gasoline draws. However, we love each other from the moon and back, to the moon and back. But we've been through it. He has a really bad temper. And he has high fear related to his paws. And he's had trauma related to his paws. When I do his paws, is drama. He will bite. He will pull the teeth out. And he gets instantly angry if I do something he don't like. He starts screaming at me. I'm not kidding. I have to force myself to calm down. Because if he gets angry and I get angry, what happens then? Builds. And now we have a volcanic eruption. Okay? That's the same thing that happens in your relationship. Somebody is irate or angry, and I don't understand why. If you both do that, here comes a volcanic eruption. So and sometimes you may need to go for a walk. Sometimes you may need to go for a drive. Sometimes you may need to go sit in a park and calm yourself. Or go take a bubble, light some candles, put them around the tub, listen to some soft music or whatever you got to do to kind of withdraw from the situation. Look at, and you can see a situation. Y'all know this. You can see a situation a lot more clearly when you withdraw from it and you sit back and watch it like a third party. Once you withdraw from it, you can process it in your head. and look at it from multiple angles, and then you can approach it with a clear head. But if you respond to it right now, you could respond incorrectly. And you may say some things that I'm sorry will never fix. And the depth of, like the deepest way to hurt somebody is in their soul. Once you karate kick somebody in their soul, there's almost no coming back from that. And as much as even though Milo's not a relationship, we do have a relationship. I always love on him despite the times I've been angry with him. I always hug on him. I always love on him. I always say I love you. And I always say, not when I'm angry, I ain't gonna lie. But when I calm down and I realize how much I love him, I make sure I tell him I love him. And you're such a good boy, because one thing you don't want to do with anyone, even if it's an animal or a person, once you karate kick them in their soul, there's almost no trust ever again because of the depth of that pain. Does that make sense? That's a bullseye type pain, like bullseye, right in the heart, right in the soul. And a person never forgives for that, or if they do, they never forget it. And when they think about it, it hurts them over and over and over again. So the best thing to do is to prevent that from happening in the first place with proper and healthy communication. All right? You guys take care. Much love, and I'll talk to you later. And Happy New Year. Y'all take care. Be safe. No drinking and driving. Don't make me come for you. Y'all take care. Bye.